We're in Arizona talking with Josh. Josh, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
I have a question on some certificates that I have. And they were my grandfather's, and he passed away, and they're from the 80s. And we kind of just found them. We were going through some paperwork, and we don't know quite what to do with them. We've contacted my financial advisor, and he connected me with the company he thought that was they were issued from, but it turns out that it was a little bit difference in the name, and they said they never went under that name. So we're back to step one.
So they're stock certificates.
I don't think so. I don't believe so. There's at the top of them, it says Fidelity Federal Savings and Loan Association Federal Security Certificates. And they're not.
And they're from, he was in his 80s, or they're from the 1980s?
They're from the 1980s, and he was in his 80s when he passed, actually. But they're from the 80s, yeah. And they're on the front of the certificates. There's 6 of them. The first one, certificate amount is $5,465.24. The interest rate is 14%. It has his name, and it has certificate number. The date of the issue was October 7th, 1981. The maturity date, January 4th, 1982. And then it has his social for taxpayer ID.
Okay. The maturity date was a year later?
Yes. It has terms, and each one of them have terms that are like that on the backside of it. There's like another. They're like these little.
I wonder if this had anything to do with Charles Keating.
Savings.
Where are you loaded? Where are you located?
Arizona.
In Arizona.
Whereabouts?
Tucson, Arizona. Tucson. They were purchased, and I believe, or they issued from the federal state, the credit institution in Douglas, Arizona, which is no longer in existence.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much is the total face value
of all the certificates? You're trying to see if there's any money here, or if it's all gone.
Exactly. It's about. Let's see. There's one for $5,400, $6,600, $3,800, $45,000, and $6,000. $6,500. I'm sorry. And they all have different times of issue, and they all have different interest rates.
Well, remember in the 80s, the high interest rate.
I mean, if you think of the savings and loans debacle, well, you might not.
He might be pretty young.
Yeah. So, I mean, the savings and loan crisis occurred in the 80s. Arizona was like the epicenter.
Yeah.
At least from an excess standpoint, because the Phoenician was built from money from,
which is beautiful.
People thought they were buying a certificate of deposit at the bank, and they were instead money was going to
my guess. But then I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were you. But my guess
these are all worthless.
These are all worthless because they were issued from a bank that is probably no longer in existence,
and they passed the maturity date. So
and they were probably never FDIC insured. But
it says on the list, it lists something about the federal chartered. It says for value fully received, Fidelity Federal Savings and Loan Association of Douglas, a federally chartered association. Fidelity Federal promises to pay to the investor's certificate amount together with the interest at the annual interest rate of.
Okay. So how do you? Date. So what makes you think that your grandpa didn't take the money at maturity and go do something else with it?
Because my grandfather had he was quite. I mean, he did a lot. We found $20,000 in a box that he had in storage, and I mean he had a lot of investments that we're still finding insurance.
I'd use a lost asset firm.
Yeah.
That's who I would use as a lost asset. So that's a
good idea.
You're going to go the other direction.
Because I'm thinking, do you go to a forensic account? I mean, it's so many years ago.
No, you go to a lost asset
and
firm.
a lot of people, unless they've been around that long, they don't even remember.
So here's what happens. There's lost asset firms out there that they make their living out of actually. Typically, they find an asset that's they call it a sheeted, which means it's been turned over to a state or local government, normally state.
Okay.
And by the way, you should actually go to your state's website and see if there's any lost assets in your grandfather or grandmother's or parents' name.
Okay.
But you want to find one of these lost asset firms, and you're going to contact them
Okay.
and say, look, we found these assets. They're in my grandfather's name, we don't know whether they're worth anything or not. And they're going to say to you, all right, we'll find out for you, but you've got to sign this contract that you're going to give us 25 or 30% of the value of whatever assets we find.
Okay.
Um,
I actually, I was, I called originally. I traced the successor of the when it closed.
Yes.
The institution closed. It was Chase Bank actually, and then
Okay.
I thought it was Chase. I called Chase, and they said it wasn't. It was since the Fidelity Federal was still open, the main offices were open in San Francisco.
Yes.
So I contacted them, and over the phone they said that it was. They said that it was fine. That there was the accounts were open. They were legit accounts. But then when I went into an office here, after keeping them for a couple of days, they said that no, it wasn't them. In fact.
Yes, that's exactly what I would expect.
Okay.
That's exactly what I would expect. So someone showed up with a certificate at a bank. The easiest thing for the person working at a bank is says, I don't know.
Right. I mean, you're thinking it's not going to be the basic person working at a branch.
Yes. So what you want is a firm that actually specializes in finding lost assets. And like I said,
Because it's matured.
Yeah.
So the question is, did it get reinvest into something else?
It's probably been sold 2 or 3 times. It may be off the books. It may be on the books. It may have been written down. It may have been
spent.
It may have been escheated to a government.
There was a couple that were along with these, and they were stamped. Two more actually, and they were stamped like they had already been redeemed, but these had not.
Okay, I would still. The way I'd handle it is I'd find a. So go and Google.
But these could have been redeemed.
That's quite.
And your grandpa maybe he didn't find the certificate, and so he signed some statement saying that the certificate
just think about
is
it.
lost or destroyed.
In the 80s, I mean, you had a passbook where they'd write your deposits in there. So you want to find a lost asset firm, contact them, sign a contract with them, and I would take everything and turn it over to them, and I'd give them all the information about your grandparents and say, tell us what's out there, and you'll end up paying 20 or 25, maybe even 30% to them. By the way, that number is completely negotiable.
Okay.
And I have friends that run these businesses in California, these lost asset businesses. What they specialize is overseas inherited assets, where someone in Ireland dies and leaves an estate, and they find the U.S.
I keep waiting
counterpart.
for one of those.
Oh, Scott, I have a long history of wealth in our family. We haven't discovered it yet.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Anyway, good luck to you, Josh. Yeah, that should take care of it.
Thank you very much. Do you have any recommendations on who I can contact in Arizona?
I would
just Google.
Just Google
we
it.
don't know
So
everybody.
just Google lost asset firms. So.
Okay.